In today's video, we'll be focusing on the fundamentals, the pure foundation that every athlete needs to be able to do in our sport. We'll be focusing on the horizontal to vertical movements as well as the vertical to horizontal. We'll work on our passing, our shooting drills, as well as being able to move from point A to point B with the most efficiencies. I'm a true believer that if you do not have the fundamentals of every aspect of this game, the skills and the drills, it's very difficult for the athlete to take it to the next level. Treading water or egg beater drill. The basic fundamentals of the game of water polo. If you are unable to do this, the game will become very difficult to you. You'll notice in this drill, our player, his upper body is as still as possible. You aren't seeing him move from side to side. It's because his lower half of his body is pretty much separated from his upper body. Here you'll notice the wide frame of the underwater cameras. His knees are as wide as possible, keeping him in the best foundation. The other great thing about this is his knees are in a 90-degree angle. His thighs are perpendicular to the surface of the water, which gives him a great foundation to be able to elevate out of the water as quickly as possible. Notice the feet going in a circular pattern. Really try to focus on snapping your feet as you come through on that motion. And here you'll notice on the bad motion of an egg beater, when the legs are moving more of in a piston motion, which is making the upper body move from side to side. This is giving the player a poor vision of the pool, seeing the pool move constantly as he's using the egg beater. If you could take anything from this egg beater or treading water position, do your best to stay as flexible as possible in the hip, groin, and knee sections. If you can core your legs up as high as possible and spread them out, you'll notice that your foundation is going to be much stronger than your opponent. So the tabletop drill or spider drill. This is a great drill to understand the balance in the water, to understand the control of each limb, whether your arms or your legs are pushing you or moving you in the right direction. From your bottom to your top shoulders, you want it to be like a table, as flat as possible. The above camera view, you're going to notice that you can actually see all the arms and legs really spread out here. They're not directly underneath him. He's got a great foundation of both his arms and his legs, which allows his back to be as flat as possible. All your limbs are working at the same time. They're maneuvering you, sculling you to the left, or slowly sculling you to the right. Your legs are more just the balance and control of your body, where your arms are more the steering wheel of your left or right direction. And if you notice in this next part, you'll see the player move quickly 90 degrees. He's learning how to react to a quick movement in the water or change of direction with his body on the surface or horizontal position. Slip stroke is a great technique in the offensive game where you're wanting your defender to think you're going to be moving, but truly you're not. Your arms are moving in a swimming stroke motion as a freestyle, but your hands are not slipping through the water when they enter the water. They're not pulling the water forward and making you move. In this drill, you'll notice the elbows are really high on allowing the player on his back, the defender on his back, to step away and protecting himself from those elbows. The other important key element here is his legs are in good position, in a horizontal position. So at any time in the motion of his slip stroke, he can push away or breaststroke kick away with power away from his defender. You'll notice in other videos that we have in our driving videos, our 2-meter videos, this is a great technique to work on your fast twitch, your mobility in the water, as well as your speed. The stepping drill. It's a great drill to be able to use in driver defense, driver perimeter, as well as in your offensive game, moving up into the pocket when you're wanting to shoot the ball. You notice in the above water cameras, you'll see the players being as straight as possible. This allows for less pull or resistance on his body with the water. While his body is straight, his legs are as high as possible on top of the surface of the pool. The more his legs drag or his bottom leg drags, you'll notice that it's slower to move through the water. But the higher those legs are, makes it much easier for you to maneuver yourself in the water. 2 ways to get a great view of this is his arms. One is above the water as well as below the water. If you notice the arm motions, his leading hand out in front of him is in a sculling motion, waving back and forth in the water, pushing him forward. His other hand is in a pulling motion, receiving the ball and pulling it back into him. This is moving him in the right direction that he wishes to go. Here in the absorb drag, you can see how the player is in a stepping position, in a straight line as possible. Now his forearm is on the shoulders of the offensive player. In this drill, you'll notice that the offensive player is pushing the defense in a straight line back. The defensive player is truly learning how to keep his body in a horizontal position as high as possible to the surface of the water, which he can be pushed and maneuvered back. The reason why this is because when the offensive player now goes back on his legs to pass or shoot the ball or receive the ball, the defensive player can now be in that horizontal position or breaststroke kick out onto the offensive player. It's extremely important in this that the defender's hand is completely off the offensive player. He can put his forearm there, showing the referee that he is touching him, but not holding him. If you are able to pull this off on a driver defense, you're going to learn that this is the easiest way and most successful way in defending the drive. Here you'll see in the left and right swings that the right leading foot or the left leading foot needs to exit the water. This maximizes the player to make sure that he gets his legs all the way back up into the horizontal before doing the drill again and swinging his legs to the other side. What you can notice here is that the player is pulling his legs up into him underwater. This allows for a quicker movement in the water. Now, if the player was to drop his legs and stay completely in the vertical on both transitions from left to right, he'll be a much slower player. Now, you can transfer this to the game when we're doing change of direction drills, when you're swimming from one point and having to turn and change direction going the other way. The higher you can coil those legs up, just like in the pendulum drill, you'll notice that you'll be a lot faster and quicker in getting it from point A to point B. Here in the pendulum swing, going from the front to your back, it's the same concept. The more the player can bring his knees up into his midsection, the quicker he will be in transitioning from his front to his back on the pendulum swings. Here you'll notice a bad example. Underwater, you'll notice the offensive player is trying to drag his legs in a vertical state from his front to his back, keeping himself in a vertical, and how slow he's moving. It's kind of funny, during this video he was saying how difficult it was doing it this way than the other way of bringing his legs up into his groin. Change of direction drill. These are great drills to learn to get that body up into you prior to going the opposite direction. Check out the underwater view. Just like earlier when we were doing some change of direction drills with the pendulum swings, this is very important to drag your knees up into your body with a hard breaststroke kick to get you going in the opposite direction. In these change of direction drills, you don't need to go a long distance. A quick 5 meter in each way can be a great drill for you to learn. What you can notice here is the offensive player is getting his momentum going with the arm swing to change that direction. A leading hand is getting out in front of him, that way he can move in that direction. It also helps the body turn in the direction you wish to go. The stop and go. This is a great technique for water polo players to understand. Our sport is about stopping and going throughout the game. If you can stop on the dime with your legs and your arms, you'll be able to maneuver yourself around or through your offending player. Here in the stop and go, you'll also notice the breaststroke kick is probably the most important part of it, or the element of it, to get the player going again. Without that breaststroke kick, he cannot get an explosion to get those arms moving quick enough. Also, it's very important you notice that the players are never really truly going to the vertical. They're staying in that horizontal position to allow them to go to the next point. They can always go to the vertical if they need to, but do your best to stay in the horizontal. Check out the aggressiveness of the arm speed. Remember, you're trying to make people think that you're going on a drive. You're giving and going, or going and stopping. Changing direction right, going left. It's all about quickness and fast twitch. In the forward lunge, I really want you to pay attention to how high the player is getting. The reason why this is because he's also putting himself in a field blocking position. He's not only lunging out at the shooter, but he's also taking away part of his cage. One other thing you can do is an advanced player can go from one hand to the next hand without pause or hesitation. If you notice our player is doing a little bit of hesitation just to clarify the technique of the skill. At the advanced stages, always try to have one hand replacing the other, so you always have at least one hand up at all times. That way the shooter doesn't have a clear shooting lane to the cage. Side lunges. In a splitting situation in our front court defense is the perfect time to be able to do this, or you're going to stunt somebody or go knock them down in a split. The opposite side of your body is pushing you. If you notice a player here dive into his left, his right side or his right leg and his right arm is pushing him in that direction, allowing him to get to the highest point on that dive. Here you'll see in the underwater cameras the legs coring up into him, creating a strong work rate and exploding with a massive breaststroke kick. This allows for the highest reach. Sitting in a chair, sculling drill. This is a great drill for your midsection of strengthening your lower back and your stomach, as well as for your shoulders in the sculling position. If you notice here, the player is sitting in a chair, kind of laying back, lounging back. Offensive player is trying to keep his knees above the water as well as his toes. Here you'll see underwater cameras that the arms are sculling in a circular motion, pushing him forward in this drill. The more you can sit up in this drill, having your knees and your toes exposed to the air, the better you'll see the results in the future.